Hey, what's up guys? My name is Moda and welcome back to the Mining Stacker YouTube channel. Today's video, yet another freaking chapter in this Kaspa ASIC price war between Bitmain and Ice River. We do have a fresh new reduction on the Bitmain units on those KS5s. Yes, the KS5s that just recently had that huge price reduction that are just now shipping. Yes, the same KS5 that people who did order in that batch still haven't received theirs. Yes, it's getting a significant price reduction. We're going to talk about that reduction. We're going to talk about the potential effects of this reduction, okay? Because it is a big enough change where it will be changing the dynamics here, okay? So if that sounds good, guys, stay tuned. Let's get to this thing. So kind of out of nowhere, Bitmain decided to drop the KS5 prices yet again, which is a very shit-tastic move, okay? Reason being is, again, some of the people who did pre-order for this August batch still have not even received it, yet there's a freaking price reduction already coming in October, okay? So no way to sugarcoat it. Very shitty practice on Bitmain's part. Even if this was in the works, it just seems very weird that they decided to do it now versus just doing it closer to the release date of when it's going to come out. Okay, so crappy situation all around. We'll kind of give our thoughts here a little bit more, but let's get right to the numbers now. So this is going to be for both the KS5 and the KS5 Pro. It's going to go down to $280 a terahash. So easy math, for example, the 20 terahash unit is going to go to $5,600. Okay. Pretty significant price cut for the best in class unit. Okay. So key figures, it's going to go on sale tomorrow, August 26th, 10 a.m. from Bitmain site. It's not going to ship till mid-October though. Okay, so people aren't going to get this thing in hand until sometime around Halloween. So there is still at least a solid 2 months from here before people actually have it in hand and we see any effects on the hash rate. Okay, so a couple of quick thoughts here. Number one, people who are already they were considering getting the KS5 at the previous price point, most likely going to jump into this price point. Okay, is it going to be something where I see a ton of people jumping in? Probably not so much if Kaspa's price action stays where it's at, just because people are going to be so weary of it. Okay, they know that with this price reduction, the hash rate is going to continue to grow. Okay, so yes, a lot of people will be jumping into this guy. People are going to be weary. I think what's going to cause a bigger increase in the hash rate is more potential price reductions from both the KS5L and the KS5M unit. Okay. At this point, it's again in the similar situation with it before the major price cut, is that it needs to be cheaper than the Bitmain unit. In this case, currently they have it at $38.49, and we're going to mention these prices, and this is for a future batch. Okay, so this is for the September 15th to 30th batch. The price, they have it at $38.49 shipped, so the price of the actual unit, we'll call it $3,600. So bringing you to what? About $300 a terahash. Okay, so again, refresher, this guy's $280. This guy needs to come down because who's going to buy that unit when you can get the unit that's twice as efficient at this price? Okay, so extremely likely that once this batch comes out, that it's going to get a price reduction. So for that reason, I would absolutely not consider buying one of these units, not one that's available now and not one for this batch until there's a price reduction. Okay, because it's practically guaranteed, because again, it's going to make 0 cents. You're going to be way better off buying this guy because this guy safeguards you in case Kaspa's price action kind of struggles, kind of remains sideways, and not just specific to Kaspa, but the whole market, right? So you have to factor that in. On the flip side though, what typically happens in October, comparing it to the previous cycle, we can start pumping upwards, okay? So that can change things. So you have to keep that dynamic in hand also, that there is potential for these prices to go up. So although, yes, this is the pre-order price for this thing, it doesn't mean it's going to be available at this price all the way up through October 15th, okay? If In 3 weeks from now, 4 weeks from now, BTC's at 78, 80,000. What do you think is going to happen to the price of Kaspa? And then what do you think is going to happen to the price of the ASICs? They're going to go up. Okay, these will be magically sold out, and then now they'll be priced higher. Okay, so you have to kind of factor those two dynamics in, but again, it's going to be very likely that there's going to be a price reduction here because, again, I would, for this price, nearing $4,000, I'd rather cough up the extra $1,500 and get the unit that's twice as efficient. Okay, so because of that, again, I would not buy one of these. I would wait for that price reduction and see if it makes sense. You have to consider things, right? You have to consider where do you think the market's going. Again, if you think we're going to stay sideways or go down, maybe we do go full recession mode, then you're going to definitely want the more efficient unit. If you're going to mine this thing all the way through the bull market, you're going to want the most efficient unit also. Okay? The difference being is that if you think we are going to pump, let's say by November, December, you think we'll be at 40 cents, 50 cents, then maybe the electric isn't that big of a deal as far as the efficiency goes. Kind of just depends on your situation. Okay, like for me, it's a big deal. Not only in terms of efficiency, but just electric capacity, right? At this point, that was a big reason I did want the more efficient unit and why I got it. Okay. So we know that it's probably going to affect this guy. This guy's about $300 a terahash. So realistically, I could see it having to go down. If this is 280, it has to go down to, let's mess with some numbers. Let's say it goes down to 220 a terahash. So 220 multiplied by the 12, 2640. So it's got to be under 3K shipped. A good price point would be maybe if they hit that $2,500 price point. Okay, will they, won't they? We don't know. Maybe it'll go down to 3K, and maybe the more significant cut will be on this guy. Again, this guy is carrying a hefty premium. Okay, even just to price match Bitmain's price, it'd have to go down a significant amount. Okay, because again, even for this future batch, it's 6,600 shipped. Again, multiplying the 15 terahash by the 280, 4,200. So if anything, maybe the KS5L gets more of a modest reduction, and this guy has to go down aggressively. Again, this guy needs to go down to, because again, this is only matching Bitmain's price. Realistically, this thing probably needs to get cut almost in half. Probably closer to $3,500. Okay. But again, it's going to be dependent on Kaspa's price action. So again, the shipping window for this is September 15th to 30th. Once this batch is allocated or they decide to do the future price reduction, they'll list that other price and we'll see how low they end up going. But the time would have to be definitely after that batch, because at that point it's going to be October, which is when the Bitmain unit's supposed to be shipping. Okay. So if Ice River does decide to go ultra aggressive here, then expect 100% the hash rate to go up. In my opinion, they're gonna do it, and it's now at this point the hash rate's gonna go up whether or not Kaspa pumps or not. I think the prices are gonna be low enough that is gonna entice people. Profitability will still be somewhat decent, and it's gonna go up. So if this price reduction happens, and then the price right around the time that these things drop does start pumping, then that hash rate is going to go freaking ridiculous, right? It's going to be well over an exahash probably by then. 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, who the hell freaking knows, right? Or maybe people are just so weary now that maybe it doesn't skyrocket as much. It's really hard to say, right? So all that we do know is that it's very likely that it's going to continue to go up. If these stay in this range, this kind of goes up, but Kaspa's price action doesn't keep up, it will actually finally start getting to the point where some people have started unplugging their KS3Ms, but it's potential that anything KS3 and below, maybe to the point where it's not profitable anymore, right? So we're going to have to see if Kaspa's price can at least keep up. So we'll see. I mean, that can be a game changer also, that if Kaspa does struggle, the hash rate does go up to 1.2, 1.3, and then couple that with the emissions reductions, that maybe anything below like a KS3M does start unplugging, right? And we'll see what kind of effects that does have on the hash rate. Okay, so it's going to be kind of a tricky situation, Okay, so does that mean that this is the end of Kaspa ASIC home mining? In my opinion, no. But you're gonna have to have one of these guys to be in there. Okay, so this is gonna be the new king essentially, right? You're gonna have to be here. It's not gonna be something where all of them are gonna be profitable again. Okay, so again, it's not gonna be over for all. For some though, yes. The KS3M, it's already kind of on the verge. This may be the nail in the coffin. Okay, we're gonna have to see if the price action will keep up or not. But at the end of the day, if you want to continue Kaspa ASIC mining, efficiency is going to be a thing, at least for the big boy units. For the smaller guys, I know some people are concerned about it. Realistically, at this point, they're all going to just be solo miners, essentially. That's going to kind of be the name of the game, in my opinion, is just solo mining. Okay, it's for like any of the K-Box Pros, the K0 Ultras. Now, would it be worth getting the K0 Ultras and such? Like 1-2 units? Probably not. Maybe a terahash would be the minimum you want to be. Like, I think these actually, price per terahash wise, and the fact that 600 watts, be not the worst solo miner. Okay, maybe if you have a handful of them, again, they really, with the K0 Ultras, for example, they really need to consider doing like 5 packs of those things. That way it's just $100 shipping for 1 box. Okay, so if not, they are going to be hurting, right? Because it is going to get to the point where you're going to pretty much have to solo mine. Ideally, it would have been nice if the freaking 10 blocks per second would have been sometime soon. We were all kind of hoping that maybe in the next few months it would be live on mainnet, but we did just get notification that it's not gonna be until the last date they have figured here is December, January for additional features, but the mainnet deployment isn't until farther after. So maybe Q1, maybe the end of Q1, maybe March, April, maybe a little bit sooner, maybe later, maybe longer. And the reason we're kind of bullish on this was just for the fact that it's going to make solo mining more viable. Okay, at this point, you're multiplying the amount of blocks by 10. It's just increasing your odds by 10 of hitting blocks. Okay, so this kind of does screw things up a little bit just because it's so much farther out. In terms of having that mindset, like realistically, with any of the small units, like even like my little K0 Pro, that's going to definitely start getting put on solo, which realistically, that's going to just be the play, right? So gonna change the things on there. One thing to note too, man, I was messing around with mining pool stats, and it's pretty interesting when you look at the block distribution. So when you look at this chart down here, this is showing the block distribution, so where the last essentially 1,000 blocks went. What stands out massively here? It's the unknown, right? So the unknown is typically going to be, maybe there's a pool or two from some big farms, but this is also where the solo mining gets allocated. So there's people solo mining to their own nodes, things of that sort. Look at how much of a portion of the overall hash rate it is. Okay, so this is kind of interesting trend. We'll see how this continues. I mean, it's good overall. If it's, again, we don't really know, it's unknown. I would assume the majority of it is people solo mining to their own node and such. Because even as you look at the last blocks, all of these that are empty are ones that were in the unknown category, right? So it is kind of interesting to see there. But just a lot of weird dynamics. So as we look at the pricing of the other units, again, the little box units, they're just going to be solo miners. And it definitely does wreck this guy, this EKA1M. Again, this thing, if we price it again to that, it needs to be... I mean, at this point, it's like you want the efficiency. Again, because of this wattage, it's competing against the big guys. It just doesn't make any sense, right? So it's, in my opinion, under $1,000 or not even worth considering, right? Even if we compare it to the 280 from Bitmain, $1,500, and realistically, because of the efficiency and the fact that it's not something like the K-Box Pro where you can solo mine 600 watts, it's a little bit rough. 1,800 watts, super rough. Okay, so this is not really big enough to really mine with big boy ASICs, and the wattage is too high to really just YOLO on solo mining, right? If you have one of those little K-Box Pros at 600 watts, or let's say 405 of the KS0 Ultras, you can solo mine. It's not the biggest hit in the world if you go like a month or something without a block or getting anything, right? But at this point, 1800 watts, it is kind of a bigger deal. Okay, so we'll see what they end up doing there. But again, for even like at $1,000, it's not even something that I would be interested in, just because again of what's going to happen here. Okay, so this is yet another massive change. It is going to change things, and it does suck, right? It's a very shitty situation, but again, this is something that we kind of were ready for, we're prepared for. Did I think it was going to happen this soon though? Absolutely not. But like when we talked about that video as far as like why I purchased it, to not be surprised if this were to happen, if it were to go down to 5K, 6K. But again, did not see it happening this soon. But it's something that we kind of knew was eventually going to happen. And the same thing is going to happen with like the AL1, for example. I'm praying for you guys. I know some of you guys ordered it. It's just, this is going to happen, guys. You got to see the future. Do not be surprised that once the AL1 ships, once the hash rate effects go in, if lithium does in like 4 or 5x within the next month, do not be surprised to see a massive reduction similar to what we saw with these things. Okay, hopefully it doesn't happen. Hopefully it's not until the future. We'll see. Right now it's only the AL1, so until they have a reason to, so until Ice River comes out with theirs, maybe that's the real reason Ice Rivers hasn't announced a larger unit. Maybe they want to wait for the hash rate effects to happen, come in with an ultra aggressive price. Who knows? But it's just be wary, right? So again, Bitmain yet again proven that they give no fucks. It is what it is, right? So this is extremely, again, very shitty practice on their part for them to do it before people even got their freaking August batch order. But it is what it is. Does it change anything for anybody who's already Kaspa ASIC mining? In my opinion, no, right? So like, again, my mindset, even with mine, because I did just purchase one of these this August batch, so it is a massive price reduction. But again, the long-term play is still the same. I'm still mining and holding all the way through. The main difference here, though, is that the hash rate is just going to continue to accelerate. We're not going to get the potentially 2 to 3 month slowdown we're expecting, but for me, nothing changes. The main difference here is for people who haven't ordered one, this is now giving them a cheaper entry price point if they want to venture into the best unit here. Okay. So again, anybody who already has one, if you ordered like KS5L, KS5M, is just business as usual. You're going to continue down, and it is what it is, right? Because you have one or two options. You can panic sell, or you have three options essentially. Panic sell, double down, buy one of these things, which in my opinion, it's a huge price reduction, but it's not enough where I would like, oh yeah, I got to double down, right? Like for me, efficiency is king. And I am also a little bit weary. The other thing I didn't mention in the beginning, very suspicious price cut, right? Again, the timing doesn't make sense. It would make more sense for them to just wait a month, see what happens with the price action. If the price doesn't pick up, then do this, announce it maybe the first week of October, make this announcement for it to start shipping 2 weeks after, right? If the price action isn't looking good. We go into recession mode, BTC retraces, things are going our way, then it would make sense. But for them to do it now, knowing what typically has happened in October in previous cycles, kind of makes me feel like, what do we notice whenever there's an aggressive like fire cut sale? New hardware. Okay, so is it because the KS7 is going to be coming out in January, February? Is that why they're trying to get rid of these units so fast? That's what it's signaling to me, right? Will it, won't it? Maybe they're just getting out of the Kaspa unit, going to focus on L9s or more AL1s, because as the price reductions go down, more people are going to be buying them. That's also potentially it. But that's just kind of where my mind goes. So even at this price point, that's a reason why I wouldn't double down, because again, it's so aggressive to the point where maybe it's a freaking KS7, and maybe if the price action still sucks, maybe the KS7 isn't too bad. Maybe then at that point, or maybe Ice River has another new model who freaking knows at this point? But at this point, it definitely does like flash signals. Like, that's a little overly aggressive, but again, who knows? It's one of those risk to reward things. At the end of the day, if this guy comes out, if you want exposure to the biggest, best guy, the price isn't bad. The risk to reward, again, is much better. Because again, at this point, at 6,500 bucks, even if the price does get cut in half because something else comes out, 3,250. And again, it's still a gen ahead of the best Ice River unit. Okay, so like if I were considering getting a big boy unit, I would not go with the Ice Rivers. My focus would be on this guy. Okay, so it's kind of to each your own. You have to see where you are at. Are you a person who's just looking to increase their efficiency? Are you long term? Are you short term? It changes things, right? The other thing I didn't mention either is that because of this aggressive price reduction, it does kind of throw out the window the hopefulness of the KS3M potentially being worth a significant amount, maybe by end of year. Okay, at least for now, at least until Kaspa's price really appreciates, because at this point, we're going to need a significant uptick for it to kind of make sense. To what extent, it's really hard to say because we don't know how much higher the hash rate's going to go from here. Okay, so a lot of things to factor in. Realistically, I would kind of wait until things kind of settle. We know that it's very likely that the Ice River units will drop, but not until the September 15th to 30th allocation is kind of over with, unless they decide to like refund everybody who pre-ordered one. They decide to just rip off the band-aid and go ultra low. Maybe they're going to wait until that thing's done, but realistically, I would not be ordering one of these. I would definitely 100% wait. Most likely, this price reduction will last a while, but it's hard to say, right? It's, again, anything more than 3 months ahead of time, it's extremely hard to say anything, right? Again, 3 months ago, you would have told me that these things would be down to $5,000. I'd been like, you're crazy, right? But yet, here we are. Okay, literally 30K down to 5K in the matter of months. Okay, so just for any of you guys who have been considering the AL1, please take note, because this is likely to happen here. Okay, maybe it doesn't. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully Alephium 10X is here in the next few months. Profitability stays up and it stays the way it is, but it's just not looking good based off of what has happened directly from Bitmain just now with these very similar situations. Okay, so again, high risk, very high risk, potentially high reward, but now at this point it's just extending that ROI time. Okay, so again, a lot of factors here. We in reality have to kind of wait until the dust settles, see how aggressive Ice River responds. Okay, once we see what they do, then we can kind of say, but realistically for me, again, if I didn't have the KS5 Pro, I would not really even be looking at the Ice River, because the price is so low here. This is where my focus would be. Again, even if this guy does go down to 2,900 bucks, 2,700 bucks, I would still be looking more at this guy, right? Because at this point, the lower these prices go, the more appealing this guy gets. Okay, at least until if they release newer models, which in my opinion, I mean, it's hard to say, right? But what would make most sense is that Ice River starts pivoting more aggressively towards Alephium. So instead of bulk producing these units, they start bulk producing those Alephium units. Okay, so it's hard to say, bros. This is part of the ASIC game, though. This is why a lot of people do not mess with ASICs. This is a big part of the reason why I say ASICs are extremely risky, because of stuff like this, right? Especially the more expensive the ASIC is, the higher the risk is, right? It's much, much easier to get burnt, especially with these overpriced hype ASICs, like we've been saying for months and months. The potential's always going to be there for this to happen. Okay, so please take note. Please understand. It is what it is. And at the end of the day, like for me, for example, is just giving people who didn't buy one a better entry point. My entry point still remains, and it's just the same thing. Mine and hold. That's all we can do, right? Just continue to stack. And we'll see, bros. This is just crazy. It's almost like mind-blowing. Like, man, this is really happening. Okay, so let me know what you guys think. Are you guys over it? You guys done with Kaspa mining? I don't blame you, because this is extremely tricky, at least until Kaspa's price appreciates, right? Well, so that's going to be the biggest hurdle, is how long it takes. Is it something that maybe happens in a month or two? Or do things get stagnant, right? A lot of things at play here, okay? So let me know in the comments, guys, what you guys think. Please comment, like, and subscribe, guys. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I am out.